Hi, everyone, and welcome to Rescripted Podcasts, where we could celebrate the great things in life, share about the not so great parts, and find out how we can rewrite those challenges, turn them into insightful moments that will lead us to change, to growth, to happiness, and empowerment, all so that we can live the life we truly want to experience. In today's video, we are going to be discussing how to cultivate a mindset for success. Typically, the first thing that you think that you have to cover is, of course, get educated on the thing that you want to do. Master it, learn it, get familiar with it, whatever stage you need to, but you have to engulf yourself in some manner to be able to have success in it, right? So that is the first level of mindset that you need to develop. And the easiest way to do that is, of course, to go to school or get educated in it in some form of fashion. In today's day, it's more courses and online learning. But some things you still have to go to traditional institutions to get the skill sets and the things that you need to learn. For instance, to be a surgeon, you can't learn that online. You definitely have to go to a hands-on institution so that you're able to understand what are the true ins and outs of that field. So I'm not talking about that per se. And well, if attaining knowledge was the key to success, well, then we would all be successful. There would be no one who lacked at all, right? Because we're always consuming information and knowledge, and we're always looking for things. It's just our natural instinct is to look, to explore, to be curious, right? So just having the desire to have information and then attaining it, that in and of itself doesn't just make you successful, right? It's not the only component for success. It is a starter, it is the beginning because it allows you to be familiar. But there's other things that are going to assist you in being successful. And that's kind of what I want to tap into today because it's so easy for us to think that there's so many external things that are going to bring us success, but a lot of it truly starts internally. And you'll see that there's some people that have so much educational background and so much success and so many degrees, but yet they still don't have the same level of success that one, they may want, or two, that they feel that they should have with the amount of external knowledge they've been able to gain. And then you'll put them alongside someone that maybe has never gone to school, or maybe they dropped out of school at a young age. Maybe they never even went to high school, but yet they have a massive level of success that they've attained and such a clear vision of life that you think, well, shouldn't that be reversed, right? The way that society tells us is that you're supposed to go out there and get that knowledge. But when you do, how come sometimes that doesn't really reap the benefit that you thought you would? Why haven't you achieved the level of success that you thought you would, or maybe that you were promised that you would? That's what I want to get into today. You see, it's so easy to get into the rat race, and the way that we get in there is by comparison, right? And we all do this. There's not one that does it more than the other, because sometimes that comparison in and of itself is what challenges you to be better. So it's not always terrible. It's not always the worst thing. It's when you look at it and it's not a source of inspiration. Maybe it's more used as a source of kind of like to be self-deprecating. Like you look at somebody and if you haven't achieved their success, then you kind of like start that negative talk about yourself. So that's when it's not healthy. But when you're able to look at someone's success and you're able to see what are the different possibilities and that inspires you, well, then that's a beautiful thing. That's a healthy way of comparison, right? Because you're able to challenge the levels in you that you know you haven't tapped into yet, but you know it's possible. And all you need to do is be willing to get there. But sometimes there's things that stop us, and some things we know what they are, and some things we don't know what they are. And if someone would just tell us, if we could read it in a book, or if we can hear this beautiful quote that will let us know what is precisely the thing that's preventing us from achieving the success that we want, well, then life would be so much better, right? If it was only that easy. But the truth of the matter is, life is full of lessons. And although we want quick answers and we want quick responses and we want to move from one stage of life and quickly move on to the next, that is the actual thing that's hindering us, is that we're wanting to move in such a rapid pace that we're discounting the areas that need to grow, that need to develop, and the lessons that are really going to propel us. Because it's not so much our desire to want to move so fast. It's once you're able to attain that lesson you're supposed to, that's going to propel you, because then you won't continuously hit that stumbling block. So I think truly, to be able to cultivate a mindset for success, is you have to be open-minded. You have to realize like you may have this roadmap to where you want to go, and you feel like you worked it out, and maybe you've been, carving it out for years, and it's going to take you where you want to go. But no matter how perfectly planned out you may have this roadmap to your success, your desired success, if you don't allow room for life to happen, and if you don't allow for life lessons to really shape you and mold you in the best way, not to harm you, not to shrink you, but to really amplify you, then that's going to be the missing part. That's going to be the missing piece. Because remember, in everyday life, there's judgment everywhere. There's, judgment upon yourself of where you are, and if you feel like you've achieved everything you wanted to. Are you a good mom? Are you a good boss? Is your business thriving? Is it your fault? Is it not? So you kind of take on a lot of these responsibilities because you always want to be further than where you are, right? Only because there's so much more to explore. And it's not always something where you're being egotistical. Sometimes you have a hunger for something, and that in and of itself, that ambition almost becomes your own drug, where you're just like, I gotta keep going, I gotta keep going, I gotta keep going. And sometimes you forget to stop and smell the roses, because as much as it's important to be ambitious and have a goal and have a clear vision, is also equally important to rest, to reflect, and be able to have your me time. And as a high achiever, I know this is kind of something where it's a luxury. Rest is a luxury because there's so much to do. I haven't have gotten all my components yet. I don't have all the answers yet. I'm still putting things together. I'm still, you know, uh, uh, pouring in the oil to this engine so that it can run smoothly. And there's always something to do, and there will always be something to do. And that is the beauty of it. But when you stop looking at life and you stop looking at the things that you're doing and thinking like, I have to get to this end result, and you start looking at life like, this career that I chose is a level of service, right? And I'm doing it because something in me is fed to do so. And the things that I receive in return also feeds me and nourishes me and wants to make me better. So I'm providing a service to somebody, whether it's creating a product or an actual service itself, it is a value to someone else. And that's beautiful, because if it's in your like zone of genius, well, being able to help someone and helping them get that light bulb to go off, well, that in and of itself is amazing. And that in and of itself makes you feel good that you're truly able to help someone and make their life better, smoother, easier, being able to get over hurdles a lot quicker. When you're able to be part of that portion of someone's life, it's really fulfilling. It's a beautiful thing to help people get untangled from what's holding them back. Because sometimes the outside perspective is easier to see things because you're not so into it. So sometimes it's easier to get a coach because they help you untangle those things. Sometimes when we're so close to something, we don't see the pieces that we're missing, maybe the obvious pieces, but you're so involved in something that you really don't get to see what is it, what's my blind spot, what is my blind spot. And it's beautiful because as a coach, it's so nice to see when people kind of have that clarity, when you can, it's almost, it's beautiful because you can almost see like when the revelation happens, when that eureka moment happens for them, and you're so happy for them, because you're just like, now they got a sense of clarity that is going to allow them to propel a little bit further, a little bit quicker, maybe not expedite the entire journey, but they got off of that road bump. Now they're able to move on to new things in that journey. And it's such a beautiful thing to witness. It's such a beautiful thing to be a part of, because when you really like helping people win, you realize it's not a one-way street, because you also win. And I think that's the thing of being able to cultivate a mindset, is that it's universal. You know, success is universal. If you really find what you love, you pour yourself into it. You have to like engulf yourself in what you're doing, right? Look at some of these sports players. They work out twice a day, right? They go in and they work, and they have this work ethic that a lot of people don't need to. And when you look at it, like they're not saving lives, right? They're just playing a sport, you know, a competitive sport. But for whatever reason, they're giving in so much. They're giving like above and beyond what a normal person would, playing that field that isn't their profession. And you wonder why. Like, you would think, well, it's just a game. Like, why are they pouring in so much? It's because something in them is being fed, something in them is being awoken, and something about challenging yourself to be better opens up new avenues and new opportunities. And that in and of itself is exciting. Pushing yourself in great ways, not to exhaustion, but pushing yourself in great ways, and seeing what you're made of, and seeing all the things that you can do, and seeing all the ways that you can contribute, and all the ways that you have value. That's a beautiful thing. That's actually self-care, right? Because you're improving yourself in something that you love, and you're really able to carve out a new identity of you. And that's such a beautiful thing, because it's proof that you don't have to always be at your starting point, you know. And you really shouldn't settle at your starting point. So it's nice when you go all in and you're able to invest and you're able to grow. Then you're able to see like everything you do really just falls under service, you know. Again, you know, being a sports player, basketball player, you're like, oh, it's just a game. But how many times has that, you know, got you excited? How many times has a game gotten you to jump out of your seat and really cheer for, you know, some points or some scores that it's not really going to change your everyday life, right? It's just a moment of like entertainment, but there's something about it, and then you reference to it, right? When you're going through a hard time in life, and you're like, I don't know, with 4 seconds on the clock, you could really do a lot in basketball. So 4 seconds on the clock, there's a lot you could really do in real life. Like, then you start to almost see it of like, you know, it's not, it's, you know, life isn't always about a matter of time. You know, time really lends itself to you. It's what you do with it. It's how you use it and how you maximize it through the service that you do and the value that you provide, and also the value that you're able to extract, because things are never one-sided. You know, even if you feel like a situation was unfair to you, you still extracted something out of it. You got a knowledge, you got a lesson, um, and you got more data on how things could really play out, and realize things have many angles. You know, everything isn't always just one-sided. There's many angles to different things, and you're able to see that like everyone just has a point of view, and that's their perspective. So how is your perspective valuable? You know, how are you able to share your point of view and how you do things, and how does that add value? Because once you're able to determine how you bring value, how you share value, what's your contribution, then things start working in a different way, because then you're able to really start to build on that. And that's where you're going to be able to get your identity, because you're just going to be like, this is something I love. This is something I'm passionate about. This is something I'm really good at. It almost comes easy to me. So I really have like an area where I can help people, right? For instance, just to kind of throw different examples, um, you know, if you do products, like if you have hair products, right? You understand what is the right treatment for healthy hair, you know. And there's different components where it's, you may need specialized products, you know. Maybe you need specialized shampoos, or maybe you need specialized like hair care. A lot of us, you know, straighten our hair, curl our hair, so there's a lot of damage. So you want products that are going to, you know, better enhance our hair, right? And again, big scheme of things, you're not saving lives, but you're making somebody look good. And if they look good, they feel good. And when you feel good, you act completely different. You have more patience, there's more ease about you, and it's just an overall better feeling. So although you may look at something and you may think, oh, it's just a product on a shelf at Target or something, the level of service that somebody did to make that product something that you totally need, right? It's something that you're looking for. Then you use it, makes you feel better. It was that person's passion, the passion to serve, to make this better. Then you were able to reap the benefits off of it, and then it also made you feel better, right? So now if it really worked for you, you'll be a loyal customer, and you'll keep purchasing the products, and you'll be a loyal customer, and they'll be so happy and so grateful. They'll continue to perfect that product. So you see how like it's such a beautiful give and take relationship. And that's really what a successful mindset is finding what you're good at, finding how you can perfect it day in and day out. And the truth of the matter is it'll never be perfect, because there's always going to be some way, some form to make it better, to enhance it. With life, there's always going to be new challenges, so you have to adapt and pivot. And that's just the song and dance of life, is finding out what you're great at, finding out how you can really make it part of like your everyday life, and it becomes part of your identity. And then it's how to dance in the rain, how to adapt, how to pivot, but never lose the thought or the access of how you provide value. And everybody provides value in a different way. And it just goes to show you that it's not that one is more important than the other. They're just different. I remember one time I was in prayer, and I was having my time with God. And I remember I was frustrated because I wanted to help in an area, and I wasn't called to. Right, I was not called to help in that area, and I felt a little frustrated. And I was like, well, why not? Right, like if we're Christians, we're supposed to help. And I almost feel like I didn't show up in their most time of need, but there was somebody that was better suited to help. But it still didn't kind of like make that feeling go away, where I was just like, I kind of felt like a phony. I felt like I should have been able to show up in this precise moment. And what I got back in that prayer time was, just because the hand knows that it has to grab the food to eat it, it doesn't mean that it can chew it and digest it. In other words, everyone has an important role, but it doesn't mean that you could blend them. You'll shine in your moment. You'll have, you know, the portion where your value is going to shine the most, and it's going to be utilized and prioritize in its moment. So the same thing for you. Like, it's so important for you to find out what it is that you love, and find out what it is that you want to dedicate yourself to. And as a high achiever, sometimes we might spread ourselves too thin, and that could be the stumbling block that we come across. But if we're able to really hone in on the things that we love, and we're able to really understand the value that we bring, then that becomes a whole different ball game, and you get to have so much more fun. Because when you're creative, that's when more ideas come, and that's when more varieties and versions, and how you really get to like cultivate the true essence of what's inside of you. Because sometimes we do have a voice, sometimes we do have something that we want to say through our active services, but sometimes it's like the words, we don't quite have the words yet. So we're trying to display it through our actions, through our services. And then once it becomes almost like muscle memory, I like to say, then you're able to see like, oh, I can identify precisely what that is. And that's a beautiful thing, and that's a beautiful journey. And if you're able to have that continuously throughout life, well, then that's a beautiful life, and that in and of itself is successful. It's a beautiful journey. Life is supposed to be a beautiful journey. It's a gift, right? Um, but sometimes we do get hit hard with challenges, and it's so easy to feel like the world's against you. But that may not always be the case. And to know that sometimes it's not that the world's against you, is that you have an opportunity to really like dig deep and dig in, and really pull out of you the best version of you. Sometimes you're inspired to do so, and sometimes life pushes you to do so. And those are the areas where you feel like life could be a little hard, when you're being forced to to have the best version of you show up. But nonetheless, again, although it may feel uncomfortable, you're able to see what you're really made out of, and the components that are really lie within you, and who you truly are, what you really stand for, what is really the fabric of you, and what you stand for, what you believe. And once you have those things, then it's easier to make decisions. It's easier to navigate through life because you know what is authentic to you, you know what is ethical to you, and you stand by that. You really stand by that, and that becomes pillars in your life. But you have to discover it first. And the truth of the matter is, you're not always going to find it out there. You know, those answers that we seek for so desperately, the component, the roadblock is that we always look for them out there. We always look for in some type of education. We always look for somebody else to show us or tell us, or like something of inspiration. But the truth of the matter, the answers that are missing that you so desperately need are the answers that you have to kind of actually look within to find. And as a personal development coach, that is what I love to do. That is what I specialize in. And I know because I was down that journey before. I was at the journey where I looked outside for all of my answers. And of course I did. I found answers, but I didn't find all of them. And the ones that had the most significance, the ones that had the most impact, the ones that had the true meaning of what I was trying to do, that really was going to propel me from the stage I was at to the stage that I wanted to be, was when I started to look internally and realize that there's a lot that we dismiss, and there is a lot that we bypass, and there's a lot that we ignore, and a lot that we put on the back burner. And you are important, and you are with you every single day for a reason. For a reason. You are supposed to care for you. You are supposed to take care of you. And a lot of times you put yourself last. But if you were to put importance of your self-care and start to develop those areas, you're going to see like you'll have everything you want. You will get everything you want, but you can't dismiss you, and you can't ignore you in the process. There's a difference between being ego based. That's not what I'm talking about. That's different. But when you have self-care so that you can develop the areas that you need to be the best version of you. Again, not perfect, will never be perfect, but the best version of you every day. Everything changes. Everything changes. Because then now you become more in love with your identity, and you realize that there's a level of service in that identity. There's a certain level of contribution that you're going to be able to share, you know, with your community, in your business, or with your loved ones. And once you're able to extract that, you realize there's substance here. There's great substance. There's great significance here beyond what maybe my titles are. Versus, your professional titles, your personal titles, like mom, wife, um, or anything like that. Even in your community, you may have like local titles, in your community. And of course, your profession, you have your titles there. But there's more to you than just those titles. And in personal development, that's what we really hone in, and that's what we really tap into, because it's not only receiving accolades externally, but it's you being able to also see those areas, and those profound, significant areas that make you you, that make you so unique, make you so authentic to your journey. And I feel like those are the roadblocks that a lot of times trip us up, and those are the blind spots in which we don't address, and then they become bigger and bigger and bigger, and before you know it, you forget how those roadblocks ever came to be. And instead of living life and enjoying life, some weird way we're kind of running from it, hiding from it, or playing small. And that's not what life is about. You're giving a beautiful life. You've been given beautiful gifts. And if we don't tap into them, then how will we ever discover them? Personal development is something I am super passionate about, because in my hardest times and in my darkest moments, it is actually what saved me. Turning the light off to the outside world and turning it on into the inside of me, and discovering me and seeing what I'm made for, built for, and how I contribute to society. I was able to realize, oh my God, life is supposed to be beautiful beyond the challenges, beyond the darkness, beyond how significantly challenging moments can be. You can still rise above, and you can still be your best hero, because again, you're with you 24/7. So the worst thing you can do is abandon yourself. And a lot of times we do that unbeknownst to us, right? Because we're just trying to be there for everybody else. We forget that we abandon ourselves. And a lot of times that is where some of these underdeveloped areas of you come from, is you abandoning yourself. Because honey, we can't get any more active. Okay, we are busy, we are running around, we have more to do than we have time. So it's never that you're not ready, willing, or able, right? It's just that sometimes we're traveling down the wrong road. We're not on the right path. And when we're always looking externally, that's an avenue, right? That's definitely a component. But you have to mix the outside also with the inside. So if you are interested in personal development, I actually do have a personal development analysis so that you could see where precisely you stand. Because I don't believe that we're all broken, but I do believe that we have cracks in our foundation. And to able to see where those cracks are, it's so much easier. And one, it's refreshing to know we're not broken. We're not broken. We're just underdeveloped in some areas. So I created a personal development analysis. So if you are interested in seeing where you stand, you can go ahead and click the link below and you'll be able to get access to it and see where you stand. But if you are ready to get started and you're just like, yes, everything that you're talking about does sound familiar, and I do need to start doing some more internal reflection, and I really need to start, kind of feeding myself more and kind of caring for myself more, I do have a bundle called Back on Track, Getting Back on Track. And what that does is it goes over, your self-doubts and your areas where you people please, and all the areas of the fundamentals of like how we can shift things. So it goes over values, your boundaries, and so many things that you want to truly get a real understanding of where you stand. Because we have ambitions, right? We know what we want, but sometimes we're not always honest as to where we currently are and what got us there, and most importantly, what's keeping us there. And that's really what that goes through. Of course, they're different workbooks, so you can do one by one if you want. But if you want to expedite the process, there's a bundle which has all of the books, all the workbooks in there, and they are accompanied with audio recordings along with them to kind of walk you through the workbooks. And of course, you also have, if you do want to have a one-on-one call with me, I'll also link down the discovery call so that you could book a call with me and see if that's what you are ready to do, if you really are ready to take those next steps. And I'll be happy and more than excited to be able to assist you with that as well. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And if you enjoyed this episode and feel like it was insightful, then I ask you to please rate it, like it, and subscribe. And share it with someone you feel will enjoy it. I'll be back here next week and we will continue to discuss matters regarding personal development. Take care, guys. Have a blessed week, and I'll see you next time.